in hour one. He's busy on a mission we sent him on. Talk about a lot to get to. CFL free agency, first and foremost. Justin Dunk, 3 Down Nation, our Justin Dunk of our Rough Rider broadcast is going to join us in about 10 minutes time here, probably less than that. We're going to break down what's gone on so far. Riders are sizzling, Elks are sizzling. A few other guys sprinkling, or other teams, sprinkling here and there. There's been a lot of movement, though. It's been hard to pay attention. Colson, I hope you have your trusty book over there and you're writing everything down. So we'll talk to Dunk about the CFL. Local hockey recap, as per usual. We don't talk a lot of basketball on here. NBA or probably more high school than anything, and university. But what a trade in the NBA on Friday. Like just another sneaky Friday trade. It's Colson's actually our resident basketball expert, so we're going to lean on him. All I know is it was a wild trade and it kind of came from left field, so we'll talk about that. The Grammys were yesterday. We'll make some fun of people on that. Hour 2, Eric Francis, NHL insider, Calgary Flames fans. You made a big trade last week. What does that mean for your club? The Vancouver Canucks make a big trade. What does that mean for their club? Those two teams are battling to try and get into the playoffs. We'll talk to Eric Francis about that and obviously his wardrobe. We'll see what he's wearing today as we like to go deep into his closet, figure out what he's got for gear on. Braden Yager will be one of our clutch performers. Another one's based around curling. If you didn't hear what Yager did on the weekend, quite amazing when it comes to his WHL career. That's a tease for clutch performer in hour 2. Hour 3, Darian Durant back. Hopefully videos. If you've ever been watching the video stream, you'll be able to see him. He's been down and out the last couple of weeks. The sickness, disturbed style, has taken over the Durant household, but he should be back today in hour 3, and then we'll wrap things up. We'll probably talk. We'll hear the Justin Dunk interview again in hour 3. So busy show. Colson, this trade, Luka Doncic.
Yep.
For basically Anthony Davis.
That's the big piece.
The two big pieces. So as I'm like reading more and more about this, he's out of shape.
Yeah. That was part of the problem with the trade, or that was part of the problem that the Dallas Mavericks were having with him, was he wasn't keeping up with his cardio, not keeping in shape. My issue with that is this guy still single-handedly pretty much got you to the finals last year. So
he's 25.
Yeah.
Like, and I hey, I don't know, right? Like, is his diet the issue? Is his effort level the issue? I don't know, but he's 25. You couldn't spin that around. And then they're saying that, again, we're not going to go too far into basketball here, but it's just wild because now they're like, Dallas, this gives Dallas a chance to win right now. And I'm like, well, wouldn't that be the case with Doncic?
Exactly. Because like the whole, one of their many reasons for the trade is they wanted a defensive anchor, which Anthony Davis is. He's 7 years older than him, so you're losing that side of the trade already.
Yeah.
And
I find Anthony Davis too, and I'll talk about this a number of times, not hardo basketball guy. He seems like such a Band-Aid. He seems so soft. For a guy who's so big, he always seems to be hurt.
Yeah. There's a lot of big men these days that are hurt a lot. But yeah, the other thing that I'm trying to understand is its win now was part of the reason for their trade, right? But if you go to the numbers on chances for who's going to be in the finals and who's going to win the finals, the Lakers went from like a plus 1,700 to be winning the finals to like a plus 900, and Dallas went from a plus 600 to like a plus 1,700. So it's complete opposite on on the betting side to what the teams are saying they're trying to do.
So we'll get into that more as we go along here in the hour. It's just the people are calling it the trade of the century in any sport. I'm like, well, pump the brakes. Is it? I don't. Maybe.
When you trade away a top 3 player in your league who's 25 years old and get not a whole lot back, you have a first-round pick in 2029. So some kid in 9th grade just got drafted by the Mavericks. Like, literally every reaction that I've seen is just kind of what?
Yeah.
And there was no rumors. It just came completely out of left field. Nobody saw it coming.
Mm-hmm. Like we talked about, Justin Dunk standing by. We're gonna get to him right away. The CFL free agency, it has been fast and furious. If you're not keeping up to this, is where one of the things where local radio can really shine, and what we can do and pivot and go quick. Hey, Curtis, get your radio work shirt on, because there is a lot to get to, especially when it comes to our Saskatchewan Roughriders. So we're going to talk to Justin Dunk about all that. There's just came down. More rider news. Just came down. Receiver news. That's an old-fashioned tease. You can always join the conversation on the Prairie Land Rentals text line, 306-936-6262. Prairie Land Rentals, Albert Street in Regina, since 1986, and you get to deal with the owner. No job too big, no job too small. What do you think about what's going on in the CFL so far over the weekend? 936-6262. Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with Justin Dunk. It is the Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com and on the home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 620 CKRM. Welcome back to the Sports Cage. Barney, Shynkaruk, Colson, and Curtis. Not to state the obvious, but it's cold out there. Minus 25. Feels like minus 37 with the wind. You got any animals or anything outside? Just keep hard eye on them. Wow. And it's not going to get any better for the next few days. We're in the deep freeze, as they say here in Sasky. Let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Western Pizza, free delivery. Your order's over $25 when you order at Western Pizza Express. And the Regina Pats annual Have a Heart Night is coming up on Wednesday. So don't make supper plans. Supporting the Heart and Stroke Foundation. Order some pie from your local Western Pizza. Justin Dunk, our man on the pregame show, the postgame show, joining us. JD, it's been a couple weeks since we've chatted. And hey, full disclosure, it is tough keeping up with all these signings, everything that's coming down in the CFL. We got Doncic getting traded. We got hockey players getting traded. But CFL, let's focus in. Today, let's start with our riders. And Tavon Campbell. Totally forgot about that name. Local guy. Riders pick him up. 6 foot, 200, returns to Sasky. What do you think about this one? What do you know about this one? Did he play ball? Did he ball last year?
He was not in the NFL last year, but that's what got my spidey senses tingling is, did he want to continue playing football because he earned over $3 million USD, it should be said, in the NFL? And that question has now been answered. And I felt like if he did want to continue to play, that it could be coming back to the Riders. A massive move considering he's Canadian and he can play on the field side. I talked to some people around the CFL. He could potentially play on that boundary side. Heck, he played corner in the NFL. So he's like an American coming back up here and playing in the Canadian Football League. I'll be really intrigued to see where Corey Mace goes with this, but it gives them even more ratio flexibility than they already had signing this high-end Canadian.
Yeah, the Canadian factor. That's where I was like, okay, well, this looks like a little bit of a steal or some found money. Does he have, and do we know, does he have any connection with the coaching staff, anybody on the staff?
You'd have to go back. I mean, the one that I would think of would be Jeremy O'Day because he's just been there for so long. And it was the Riders that drafted him while Chris Jones was there and really developed him and brought him along. I remember him at the CFL Combine running the 40-yard dash in the 4.3 second range. That's like elite speed. But people still had concerns about his ability to cover and could he be an every down player at cornerback? Well, he's erased all those. I've had some talent evaluators tell me that they've even made them look stupid in terms of their evaluations by going down to the NFL, starting down there, as you saw on that beautiful B-roll on the live stream, had an interception touchdown down there, like no joke, played legitimate snaps in the NFL. So I think he can do it in the CFL. And the fact that he's Canadian is a major bonus. Great move from Jeremy O'Day and Corey Mace.
Like you said, we don't know, or maybe he was playing, some equivalent to senior men's football or staying in shape, whatever. But like you said, it sounds like he still wants to play football, which there could be that fire there, which he, like you said, you kind of threw out the money that he was making down south, where he's just like, listen, I just want a ball, love Sasky, and I want to win, right? That could be the play here.
Indeed, and it's hard to turn down, playing for well into the six figures. I don't have the exact amount on him, but a guy like this is going to command that kind of money. I would think, and this is based on people telling me from guesswork around the league, that it's going to be over $150,000 per year on that contract that he signed. I don't usually like throwing out numbers, but I mean, for him, that's not chump change either. Yeah, you made over $3 million in the NFL, but there's some tax money that's going to come away from that. And if you still want to play football, and he's in prime shape, this guy always keeps himself in high-end shape, then why not come and do it for the Riders and on that defense with Corey Mays?
Yeah, 31 years old. How about Rose? Right? There's another guy, maybe some will go, hey, he's in his 30s and all that. What do you think about that signing late last week?
Well, there were a handful of teams in the mix, so that tells you all you need to know. When you have about half of the league chasing you, then there's definite interest. Mike Rose was a disruptor in Calgary, and I think he just kind of got caught up in this change for the sake of change that Dave Dickinson is going through. Yes, he was scheduled to make around $200,000 on that contract with the Stampeders. Before he was released, he was doing off-season roster bonus, but the guy is still an elite level player on the interior. That's a major upgrade, I think, for the Riders to get Mike Rose in there. And it's about connections, Barney. So often in life, especially in the Canadian Football League with how small it is, Corey Mace was his defensive line coach for several seasons in Calgary. So it made a lot of sense that Mike Rose comes in there. And I think that's where Riders fans need to look for potential next moves are connections. What connections are there? Lines you can draw with dots to connect them for the moves that the Riders could potentially make coming up as the window goes along and into free agency when the moves can be made official.
Yeah, the Mace thing again, right? Like bringing a guy in like that, and probably breath of fresh air for him as well. Sasky not too far away. He'd be familiar. Yeah, I like it. What is he, 32? I think he's 32 years old. Yeah.
In that range, yep.
Then it just came down, I don't know, minutes ago, and within the last hour, Wayne Ruby Jr., Riders signing 3-time OAC Receiver of the Year, Wayne Ruby Jr. Decent career in the Ohio Athletic Conference, which I didn't even know was a conference. 6'1", 190, really good numbers, solid. Plays his career there. Look at Curtis, man. You're quick on the ball.
He's all over
the stream. If you're watching the stream, there is Mr. Ruby Jr. Just anything about this guy, Jester? Just kind of what came down in the release.
What sticks out to me with these offseason signings are, can these guys come in and translate to the Canadian Football League game, right? Mm-hmm. We saw the Riders do it with a number of rookies last season. Probably the best American rookie receiver last year, off the top of my head, was Dante Myers. Had a great season, but then that was slowed down with the injury that he sustained. I believe it was an upper body injury. So when I think of these types of signings, that's what I think of. But, interesting that you bring up receiver, because these are Americans that are coming in their first year. And I've heard that at least through this communication window, the Riders have checked in on a receiver that has a connection to Trevor Harris. That would be a guy by the name of Eugene Lewis. The two spent time together in Montreal. 2022 was Lewis's best year in the Canadian Football League, Barney. He was named the East Division Most Outstanding Player, had over 1,300 yards, I believe 10 touchdowns that season, and the trigger man was Trevor Harris. If the price is right, I think perhaps there's a deal to be made, and I've also had people around the league say to me this: who was the guy that essentially ended the Riders season in Winnipeg as a pass catcher? Kenny Lawler. So I'm not saying that they're going to spend what Kenny Lawler wants, and I've heard that's about $250,000, $250,000. But if you take Kenny Lawler away from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in a year where Winnipeg's hosting the Grey Cup, and he's on your team. I've had rival coaches and personnel people tell me that they believe the Riders would put themselves as the favorites, at least on paper. You got to go out and prove it, to win the West Division. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm just giving you some sort of backroom, behind the scenes talk about what people feel, the Riders could do to put themselves on top. But it's not necessarily about spending the money either, because in Corey Mace's first year, especially with Jeremy O'Day, the general manager, Kyle Carson, the assistant general manager, Paul Jones, the other assistant general manager, they have shown that they can bring in talent to Corey Mace's staff and that it can be developed and actually be productive on the field in their first years. So I'm saying that's an idea that's floating around, and I'm sure it's going to get Riders fans excited, but it makes a lot of sense. There are multiple teams in on Kenny Lawler. I've not specifically heard the Riders, so it's just an idea for now. But I do think that the Riders at least checked in on Gino Lewis.
Okay. You talked about price tag for Lewis. First question is, what do you think the ceiling should be or would be for the Riders on him? Secondly, between Lawler and Lewis, in your mind, which would be the better fit? Is it the Harris tie-in with Lewis? What do you think there? Kind of a two-part question.
Yeah, I got you. So I'll try to answer the first part first. But in terms of the price tag, we're not privy to the Saskatchewan Roughriders cap numbers, and those are always floating, and you don't really need to be under the cap until at least the end of the season. You do have to manage it. So, I do think if Gino Lewis is going to come down substantially from the $320,000 that he made in 2024, the highest paid non-quarterback in the league, that potentially the Riders could be in the mix there, but he's going to have to come down. When I say substantially, I'm talking about even if it came down to $250, in Gino Lewis's mind, that's $70,000, right? That's a big chunk of change to drop. I don't necessarily think the Riders could get in the mix there if it was $250, but if it's lower and Gino Lewis wants to play with Trevor Harris and let's say doesn't want to go back to Edmonton or doesn't necessarily like the feel of going to Calgary, even though he knows Vernon Adams Jr., then it would make some sense, right? You're going to a legit contender on a team that's on the rise. So I think in terms of the connection with Trevor Harris, that could help something like that potentially get across the goal line because they do have that relationship that's been proven on the field. And Gino Lewis is going to sit around and think, well, okay, what if I go to Saskatchewan for, let's say, even 1 year, have another great season, set myself up in free agency to potentially have even more leverage a year from now? Because it seems like, and I've had some people tell me this, that general managers have been up front saying, hey, we got to kind of take this receiver market back down.
Yeah, I don't know if I got any relationships that would be worth $70,000 in my life.
Or more.
Yeah. What would Lawler fetch?
Lawler's looking for around $250,000. He made $285,000 last year with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And, there was a sense that perhaps in a year where Winnipeg's hosting the Grey Cup, that maybe he would take a little less to stay there. But I think he's going to have to come down substantially to potentially stay with the Blue Bombers. There's a bunch of teams in the mix there for Kenny Lawler who really believe that he's a guy that can be a game changer and is the scariest target available on the market.
Mace said, I think it was last week with Dave, that not everyone's going to be signed. That usually doesn't happen in any team sports. What have we seen, or what's caught your eye as far as guys exiting so far? I think it was Deontay Williams, Amari Henderson, anybody else coming down the pipe that you can see?
Those two made sense to me even more now with the Tavon Campbell signing. Yeah. And you couple that with the fact that last year, I look at a guy like DeMarcus Fields, okay, playing that strong side halfback position, arguably one of the most difficult positions, I think underrated in terms of how hard it is to play on the Canadian Football League field. As a rookie, Corey Mace was able to coach him up, and he looked really good by the end of the season. And even early in the season, he was showing the ability to play at that level. So I want Riders fans to understand it's not always about going out there and spending the money either look in-house. So look at the guys that were on the practice roster last year that developed under Mace, that had a year. DeMarcus Fields didn't even have a year. He essentially had a training camp before he started there, in terms of options for where the Riders could go to fill some of what people on the outside might feel like are holes. But if you look at this roster, even right now, Barney, you can see that it's upgraded, as you mentioned, just with Mike Rose and Tavon Campbell. And I think the Riders are going to be patient at this point in time and look for some bargains, because sort of the hype of free agency, I would say, has already happened. Like, free agency doesn't happen the second Tuesday in February anymore. It's the first Sunday in February.
Okay, the bargain thing I like, and maybe that's just the frugal part of me. Once the the Campbell thing came down, I'm like, okay, well, a lot of this is making sense now. Okay, fill in the blank. You think the Riders are still going to do what?
I think they're still going to look for, and I don't necessarily like this word, Dave Thomas is going to laugh, but find some depth for the Canadian offensive line. You know, depending how you look at it, and him and I were talking about this, that perhaps you could have Logan Ferland in there as your center, with Travion Tate as your left tackle, Jamarcus Hardrick as your right tackle, Jacob Brammer at right guard, and Noah Zura at left guard. So that could be a starting construction for you, but Jeremy O'Day likes racial flexibility. And I think you can be patient right now, especially, like, let's say with the center market, because Peter Godber is still out there, hasn't agreed to terms with another team. And he's a guy that's done so much community work there in Saskatchewan that, you know, I think there could be a way to bridge that gap. So that's one area that I'm looking at, is the offensive line, because you can never have too many Canadians. And you and Rider Nation knows that there were so many injuries along the offensive line. So that's one area I would look for them to find some value and sign.
Wow, talk about making noise. Edmonton Elks. Like, did Larry Thompson just give Ed Hervey the company card and say, go nuts? Like he's going to Costco or what?
It seems that way, but, you know, I've been breaking it down with some people. So let's look at this, for instance. Okay, McLeod Bethel Thompson made, you know, probably over $500,000 last year with playtime incentives and some bonus incentives in his contract. So the Elks now essentially have Trey Ford and Cody Fajardo for McLeod Bethel Thompson's money. So that's not necessarily a savings, but it kind of is in a way. If Gino Lewis isn't coming back with that $320,000, that opened up some space. They re-signed Niles Morgan, who tied for the CFL lead in tackles. They kind of technically re-signed Brett Boyko, you know, probably for a little less, because the Elks released him and then they wanted to assess the tackle market and came back to him. They definitely spent some money on Tyrell Ford, in and around $230,000. Definitely spent some money on Robbie Smith to get him in there. He's well north of $230,000. And some of the other guys that they did pick up, but it wasn't like crazy money for some of the other guys. Like, I'll give you an example. Jake Serezna took less to go back to Edmonton than what was on the table from Toronto. I heard he had about $240,000 on the table from the Argos, and he went and signed with the Elks for $225,000. So there was some value there that the Elks got because Serezna wanted to come back to Edmonton. I believe he has a partner that's in the city too, so that makes some sense. But it wasn't like they sort of blew up the salary cap in a sense. But, you know, that brings me to my next point, Barney, because I've talked to a bunch of people around the league about this. They said, who cares if you go over the salary cap? It's like a luxury tax. And if you win and you have bums in seats and you have interest in your team and, you know, heaven forbid, win a Grey Cup, that is going to bring in well above the revenue that you would need to pay that luxury tax and create a lot of interest for your team. So if Larry Thompson's sitting there, he's saying, you know, essentially, I'm not saying that he's exactly saying this, but, you know, go nuts. Just don't go too crazy. Sort of let me know where you're at from the cap perspective. But I think it's fairly reasonable what they've done when you do break it down.
Yeah, I am a firm believer. I like that salary cap, schmallery cap, win. That'll kind of clear everything up, and like the luxury taxing as well. I am curious on what what the Elks' next move is. So what you're kind of saying, though, is we need to find a way to get, if they are attached, Gino Lewis's partner or Kenny Lawler's partner in Regina. There's got to be some sort of attachment here where he can take $20-some thousand less is what we need. Are you surprised by any team yet, whether it is the Elks, or are you surprised by maybe a team that's not doing as much as you thought they would?
Not yet, because I still think it's early. And I think some teams are waiting this out to hope the market cools off a little bit. I was surprised that the Elks went so fast, so furious on that first day. By my count, they added 8 starters, 5 of them Canadian. You got to start 7 Canadians. So they really turned that roster over. But I will say, surprised by one thing, and it has nothing to do with him essentially, but I thought Wynton McManus would get to the window. And he did push the market up for linebackers. He still remains the highest paid linebacker in the Canadian Football League, well over $200,000. But I thought he would get to the window, and a lot of people were frothing at the mouth just to have the chance to talk to him because they think he's that much of a game changer. So I don't want to say that was necessarily surprising. It's just something that I thought would happen based on the timing and talking to people around the league, but he clearly wanted to stay in Toronto.
Are you surprised that we don't have an OC in Winnipeg?
No, because Michael Sherry doesn't care. He just does things, on his own timeline. And the latest I've heard on that is that Mike Miller, I asked Ryan Dinwiddie this directly, had been requested to be interviewed by the Blue Bombers. He granted that request. And it almost kind of seemed like, by the way Dinwiddie was talking, that Miller was going to be gone. And some other people told me that former CFL quarterback Drew Tate might be really ready to step up and take Miller's role in Toronto as the quarterback coach. So it hasn't come to fruition yet. I'm sure there's some other names that Mike O'Shea is keeping close to his vest, but the name that I've heard most is Mike Miller. The other one is Jarius Jackson, but then some people tell you he might not fit in with Mike O'Shea's style, so to speak, in terms of how he operates and everything like that, but it's to be determined.
So O'Shea is kind of a fly by the seat of his pants guy. Hey, it's like that beard. I'll shave it when I shave it. Okay, here's a kind of going away from the CFL, but Canadian football. In 5 years, Taylor Elgersma will be where?
Ooh, boy, put me on the hot seat. Okay, let's work from today, what we know, and then we can try to workshop our way out to that, okay? First of all, Taylor Elgersma becomes the first Canadian university quarterback to play in the Senior Bowl through an absolute dime that you can see on the live stream there. 43-yard go route to Pat Bryant in the Senior Bowl. Shows off the arm strength in a week where he's just getting to know these guys. Like, he might not even know some of these dudes' names, even though I think he's a great leader and he wants to get to know them. But he looked like he belonged based on the scouts I talked to on the ground. Did he have some struggles during the practice week? Yes, but he's essentially playing American football, not for the first time, because there was a couple other bowl games, and he's been down at a place called QB Country that trains the likes of Drake May and Bo Nix. By the way, training last offseason in preparation for this. But it's his first time being on that stage with legit NFL coaches. Like, his head coach, Mike Kafka, is the offensive coordinator for the New York Giants. Like, if Kafka doesn't know what bad quarterbacking looks like at this point, then I don't know, what he's looking at, right? Like, look at the New York Giants quarterback situation for a second. So Taylor Elgersma, to me, has a lot of upside here, and it's only going to take one team to fall in love with him. And next great step for him, and different people will tell you different things, would be to get an invite to the NFL Combine, just to be on that stage. But not so much with the cameras in your face. It would be about the interviews, Barney. That's going to be really key for him, is how much knowledge can he show and how fast can he pick up the American game and translate it to impressing the teams in the interviews. I think he can do it. He's a kid that learns quickly. But, I had my former University of Guelph teammate, Rob Maver, tell me the other day when we were talking about Taylor Elgersma, he's like, when I was with the Atlanta Falcons and he was with them for a little while, he was being joked as, I forget the name that they called him. It was something about Canada. And they were asking him if he could call out the protection. And he said his mind was just going a mile a minute. And it would have took him some time to pick it up. That's just special teams, okay? That's just a punter. Like, I'm not hating on punters. Hashtag punters are people too. But when he's telling you your head is spinning about special teams, can you imagine what Taylor Elgersma is being put through right now in terms of mental gymnastics? So to try to answer your question, in 5 years, I think I'll hit the pause button because we'll have a better idea what happens around the NFL draft. If he gets signed, most importantly, yeah, I know I'm pushing it down the road, by a team that believes that he has the upside, which I think he does. Jim Nagy, the Senior Bowl executive director, who was a scout in the NFL for 18 years, told me no concerns about his arm. He's got arm talent that's right there with a bunch of NFL quarterbacks, and especially the ones in this draft. So depending on the place that he goes, I think there's a chance that he could be in a training camp and could be developed. 5 years is just so hard to say. I guess the smart money would be on him being in the CFL, but here's the other part of this, Barney, and I know it's a bit of a rant that's going to come here. I don't understand how Taylor Elgersma wins the Heck Crichton Trophy, goes to the Senior Bowl. Like, Jim Nagy's an 18-year NFL scouting veteran, sees a little bit about the kid, hears about him. All of a sudden, he invites him to the Senior Bowl, the most prestigious all-star event in the NFL draft process. I see him just a little bit of film. Yet Taylor Elgersma is not on the CFL Scouting Bureau's top 20 list in the fall. Like, how's that possible? Why do we need NFL scouts to rubber stamp this kid before, and I'm not saying everybody, but some people in the Canadian Football League take him seriously? This guy has elite arm talent. He can spin it just as good, if not better, dare I say, than the majority of the quarterbacks that are going to come up to the Canadian Football League and get a chance as rookies in 2025.
That's a really good point. Glenn Suter would love to pile on that point because he waves the flag so hard. Okay, the question, and I can't remember who I asked this to, it might have been Arash Madani last week. Why is Elgersma playing in Canada? Why wasn't he playing NCAA? Is there a reason for that?
Well, his last year of high school was wiped out because of COVID, and he still got after it. But this is a guy that was cut from tryouts at Team Ontario, like his own provincial team. And Michael Faulds, the head coach at Wilfrid Laurier University, spotted him, and he liked him because he was trying to get as many reps as he could. He was trying to get in the front of the line at one of their high school camps. So this is a guy that wasn't highly recruited. And Michael Faulds saw something in and developed. So that's the reason that he didn't go stateside. Perhaps he could have gone to the U.S. after, let's say, he won the OUA MVP in 2023, because we've seen some of those situations, like Dean Leonard, University of Calgary for a couple of years, goes to Ole Miss, gets drafted by the Chargers, has been there for a while. Same thing, Tavius Robinson at Guelph for 2 years, COVID happened, goes to Ole Miss. He's with the Baltimore Ravens now, regular on their defensive line rotation. So that could have been a possibility. It certainly would have helped him. But the fact that he's got noticed by the Senior Bowl and NFL teams right now has created this buzz that could lead to an NFL chance. Okay,
that answers my question. I'm glad you answered that, because I've been wondering. I'm like, so a little bit of maybe a late bloomer, but a hard worker to get to where he is. And now, hey, he's in it. I think he's in a good spot. Took up more time than I said we would today, so thanks for not exiting the link. Wealth of knowledge as per usual, JD. Always appreciate it. Thanks for giving Rider Nation and the Sports Cage some solid info today.
Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it. Go get warm with that Western pizza, huh?
Send me a jacket. It's freezing. There's our guy, pregame, postgame show on Rider Radio, Justin Dunk from 3 Down Nation, joining us here on the Sports Cage on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. Time for a quick break. We will come back. We'll wrap everything up for hour 1. It is the Sports Cage. We're streaming at sportscage.com. If you're looking to do something tonight, head to the Canadian Brewhouse, warm up, watch some hockey. 2 locations in Regina, 1 in Moose Jaw. Don't forget, if you're looking for a team fundraiser, you got a chance to win $2,500. Tons of options to choose from. You can find out all the information for that fundraiser, CanadianBrewhouse.com. Great interview with Justin Dunk there. Lots to digest, to decompress from. 936-6262, Prairieland Rental text line. if you have any comments on any of the moves that teams have been making so far in the CFL. Like the one today, obviously, is Trayvon Campbell coming back to the Riders. I totally forgot about him. And a U of R alum selected by the Calgary Stampeders in the third round, 22nd overall, way back in 2015 of the CFL draft. He had a 4.35 40-yard dash in the CFL Combine. Appeared in 42 CFL games, 53 defensive tackles, 9 special teams tackles, 1 sack, 4 interceptions. But then just, you look at his, and this is where it was like, kind of became, hey, Maz, you're joining us. Maz is joining us. He's going to join us from the studio right away. He's just busy out. He's boots on the ground. We got word on some other signings, so we got Maz out there doing his thing. But Campbell signed with the New York Jets in 2019. Attended training camp there. Then he joined the Chargers practice roster. He played 2 seasons with the Chargers, appeared in 30 games, making 11 starts. Like, those are real NFL minutes that he played. And all of a sudden we get a news release today from the Riders that he's coming to play. Like Justin said, he's so versatile. He's going to be able to play, a number of positions in that defensive backfield. When you heard about it, Maz, like, was it kind of like, forgot about him? Yeah. Where's he been hiding? He didn't play last year.
Super out of left field, but when I saw yesterday online, Amari Henderson's probably not coming back, Deontay Williams not coming back, be like, well, who are you going to replace him with? And that was a name I don't think anybody thought of, but you're like, NFL experience and he's Canadian? Man, like, that's double check. So good job, J.O.
Yeah, there you go. J.O.
It's one thing to rebuild your secondary. It's another thing when you've got a Canadian guy. And the other thing, too, with Tyrell Ford, and we would have loved him, but if Edmonton is paying him $230,000 a season, I don't know, can you pay a DB that much money? So,
yeah, but then the sibling factor, too, in Edmonton. Like, I don't know if you're going to win that. I don't know if you're going to win that battle with just, a few extra $1,000 or whatever. If your bro's playing there.
I do give Ed Hervey credit for, they created the Ed Hervey rule because Ed Hervey was the super tamperer, and it seemed like the minute that super tampering started yesterday, Ed Hervey had all the deals already signed. So was he Ed Herveying before the Ed Hervey rule kicked in? Just putting a question out there.
Absolutely. No one works that fast.
I know,
but I don't.
The contracts are already done.
Yeah, if you ain't cheating or if you ain't bending the rules, right? You ain't trying. I'm fine with it.
Rubbing is racing. Yeah, me too. Whatever. I don't care. Those guys were going regardless. It didn't matter when it got announced. All of that stuff has already been talked about.
Hey, Colson, we need to write this down. Okay, we need to screenshot this. We should have done it last week because I don't know how it's moving. Grey Cup winner. I'm on coolbet.com right now. To win the Grey Cup, Toronto plus 275, then Montreal plus 350, then the offensive coordinator-less Winnipeg Blue Bombers plus 650. That's not happening. BC Lions plus 650, Riders are plus 650. Then it goes Ottawa, Edmonton, Hamilton, Calgary. I just want to see how this changes.
Yeah, someone pointed out yesterday that when Ed Hervey was the general manager of the BC Lions in 2019, he signed a ton of free agents, and everybody said they won free agency that year, and they missed the playoffs. So remember when the Riders took their big swing and signed all those free agents? Like, they got some quality players, but they got to come together. Who knows? But like we talked about before, seems everybody's pushed their chips in the West. It's a dogfight from day one. Although it was really funny yesterday. I think Vernon Adams realized that he's a Calgary Stampeder now. Yesterday, he was on social media talking about scared money and spent money, something like basically urging the Stamps to go sign some free agents. It's like, hey, if you big play VA. That is not their style. Like last year, or the past few years, they've signed like 5 free agents last year, and some teams signed 20. It's like, VA, don't expect anything coming that way.
Exact opposite of what it looks like up the road in Edmonton. Like I said to JD, it's like Thompson just gave the credit card and they're going to Costco. Where in Calgary, it's like, no, here's some change and go to the corner store.
Homegrown, baby. We're gonna. Well, if there's anybody that's good at finding talent, it's been John Huffnagel. He's got 2 decades of it. But can you refill a roster after you've cut that many guys? Can you go find 20 new dudes that are CFL ready?
No, not when you're at the convenience. Not when you're at Brands on the corner of Louvain and whatever it is, where your other guys are shopping. It seems at Costco. Heck.
Oh, by the way, since we're talking tariff. Are we?
No, we're not.
Are we only shopping
this
local?
This is a tariff-free conversation. People don't need to hear that crap for 3 hours on this show because we're getting bombarded by it everywhere else. So this is full-fledged, boys. Tariff talk boycott starts now on this show.
No, I heard you talk. I heard you talk about the
favor.
NBA, and you never talk about the NBA. So I'm like, well, maybe everything is upside down today.
We had to start with one of the biggest trades in sport.
So
I don't follow tennis either, but if someone did something wild and crazy in tennis, we'd mention it. We'd give it some love.
So I was listening to some other sports experts today. So apparently Luka Doncic, being European, he's old school. He still likes to smoke cigarettes and drink. Apparently that's a knock against him. Love it. And he just bought a $15 million house in Dallas within the past couple of weeks. And I'm like, ooh, that's...
with 2 deep fryers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Just kidding.
That's awesome.
No, it was just my stupid humor. No, but and it seems like it came from left field with him. He's 25. It sounds like he's got a bit of a effort issue, or he needs to do more aerobics.
Could you imagine?
But like you said to me last week, you can't outrun a bad diet.
I know. So could you imagine, guys, especially after you get married, because we've all done it, you get fat. Could you imagine if you got traded when you got fat? At your job, in life? Like you put on some weight, you're out of here, you got to go.
One thing we can talk about in a bit, what are we up against the clock? We got to run down some local sports. Take a quick break. We got to get into the Grammys. And that's some embarrassing stuff going on there. Don't get going yet. We got to take a break. It's a Sports Cage. Watching Maz, boots on the ground. Looks like a federal agent at sportscage.com. All right, local hockey front over the weekend. The SJHL report's coming up tomorrow with Benny Walchuk. That big game, the game of the weekend, which was the worth the drive every time up to Flin Flon. Melfort, Flin Flon, Bombers 4-0. Listen to this heater. Let this soak in. Flin Flon, in their last 26 games, 23-0-2-1. That's crazy. Again, we'll have the SJHL report for Southie Mainline Chrysler. The new King of Trucks coming up tomorrow with Benny Estevan. They won 5-2 over Weyburn. A little surprising win there for the Bruins. SJHL, that's it. For no games tonight. Tomorrow. As for the WHL, Extreme Hockey WHL report, where the CCM Vision sticks have arrived at Extreme Hockey. Also, the Yeti sale continues. The Pats dropped 2. They dropped Friday to Red Deer and then 5-2 to Brandon on Saturday. Edmonton, they had a 2-0 win over Lethbridge. That's a little bit surprising if you're watching what's going on in the Central Division. Prince Albert, they beat Wenatchee. Wenatchee's here Friday. They're doing their swing of the Eastern Conference. And then Swift Current, they end their BC swing with a win in Kelowna. Looking at the standings, Maz and I can maybe do that an hour or two a little bit later. 5th to 8th in the East is extremely tight. It's going to be real interesting down the stretch here. AAA Midget on the weekend, the Pac Canadians shaded Warman. Moose Jaw and the Saskatoon Blazers played 2 in Moose Jaw. And they all gathered at Nits and went for a tour of the tunnels. They split those games there. Swift Current took 2 from the Contacts on the weekend in AAA Midgets, getting tight in those standings as well. Pat C's lead by 1 point over Moose Jaw. Swift's only 4 back. Then Tisdale, and then the Blazers dropped a bit in the standings. AAA female Rebels back in action on Thursday in Notre Dame. They had the weekend off for the Sask First U18 camp, so no AAA female this weekend. Not much to mention in the Prairie Junior Hockey League. Tomorrow we got a game, Fort Knox playing, I think it's the Storm. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Fort Knox is in first place by a mile over there. One shout out when it comes to senior provincial, Kenora. The Cobras, they go into Carnduff on Friday, game 1 of C. They steal game 1. They steal the Kishka. They're going back to Kenora, up 1-0 to 5-2 over Carnduff on Friday. Elsewhere, it was Foam Lake over Hudson Bay, 8-2, and Wilkie laid the boots to Outlook, 14-3 in provincial senior. So there's a little quick local hockey rundown. Don't forget, if you want to nominate someone for the Dangler of the Week, 936-6262, chance to win a $100 gift card to the Canadian Brew House. Hour 1 in the books. We're going to throw it in news when we come back. We're going to have Eric Francis see Sports Cage. We're streaming at sportscage.com. Hour 2 of the show, like the big voice said, for our friends at Kellen Solar, located in Lumsden, Saskatchewan. 35 years of experience moving water from a dugout or well without electricity. You can visit kellensolar.com to find out more for your livestock operation. Eric Francis is going to be with us here in a couple of minutes' time. We got the Clutch Performer coming up also this hour. WHL tie, Moose Jaw Warrior-ish tie. Also some curling on the Clutch Performer front. Hour 3, Darian Durant going to join us. You any questions for Darian? Prairie Land Rentals text line 936-6262, area code 306-936-6262. It'll be interesting to get his take on a couple of the signings, what the Edmonton Elks have done, obviously what the Riders have done, making some noise. Tavon Campbell, the big one today from the Riders, back in the fold. A lot of you probably forgot about him, like I did. Like Maz did, like Colson did.
Yep.
But talk about NFL experience and University of Regina alum. Totally forgot about that as well. Hey, I got self-aware. I'm totally cool admitting when I'm wrong or I forgot. You guys aren't married yet, are? Well, you're married.
Yeah, coming up on a year.
You got to know. You got to know when to fold them.
Yep.
And say, that's on me. My bad. But now it's time to talk NHL hockey, among other things, with our man for Southie Mainline Chrysler.
It's time to talk hockey on the all-new Sports Cage with NHL analyst Eric Francis. Brought to you by Southie Mainline, the Mainline Automotive Group's newest king of trucks. Southie Mainline, just 30 minutes north of Regina. Worth the drive, every time, guaranteed.
Eric Francis, there he is. Blockbuster card in the background, little hoodie. What's with the hockey glove up there? What's the significance of the hockey glove on that shelf?
Oh, it's just my little guy's first glove that he ever wore.
That's cute. Very cute. Calgary Flames. I watched most of the game, so I put an in-game bet on it. They almost blow that last night. They're up 3-0.
They're up 3-0, and I would say, like, you always hear fans say, man, we don't get any breaks. Every fan thinks his team never gets any breaks and obviously never gets any calls from the refs. But I saw this confluence of about 5 of the most ridiculous breaks in like a 5-minute segment that the Flames got. Like they were, that's a lucky win. And full marks. You go to Seattle, you earn every road win, and your goalie had to stand on his head the last 2 periods. But like, did you see the first period by chance?
No, I picked it up. They were up 3-0.
Oh, okay. So first period, Seattle scores first. Calgary got in at 3 a.m. from Calgary, customs issues. Thank you, Donald. And they finally, they're all tired. Played the night before, and then they get scored on first, and the body language is not good from Dan Vladar. Anyway, they decide to challenge it for goaltender interference, and you're like, whoa, come on. Anyway, it goes in the Flames' favor, and you're like, that is pretty loose interpretation of goalie interference, but whatever. Then the Flames score a very, very lucky goal. Wow, the new guy, Frost, scores a goal. That's a nice goal. Then Shynkaruk loses the handle on a deke, and it goes between the goalie's legs like pee-wee hockey. And so at the end of it, and I've never seen this. I don't remember ever seeing this. They call a penalty, like I guess seconds after the puck went in. So after the goal is scored, like it's not a delayed penalty. It's like, okay, Flames scored and a penalty has to be served as soon as we start play. So I've never seen that before.
What was the penalty for?
Slashing. Couldn't believe it. And, unless it happened behind the play when they were celebrating, which I didn't see, I think it was happening in the act of the breakaway. But anyway, then Seattle decides to challenge it. The challenge is they lose the challenge. I think they probably should have won the challenge. It was very similar to the Flames goaltender interference. So then the Flames have a 5-on-3 power play. Like, it's just a comedy of errors for Seattle. Flames score on 5-on-3, and game's pretty much over. But, the Flames have trouble scoring, as is well documented, but they got a lot of breaks in one game. They're not going to get many for the next little while, I don't think.
Give us a look, again, behind the curtain. What kind of border issues would an NHL team have when taking a charter somewhere? What are they worried about?
This one should have been pretty straightforward. There is a bit of a problem over time when you go into a country and out of the country with the same amount of people, basically the same bill of goods that you're showing customs. It should be pretty open and shut, but they didn't get into Seattle. Like, Calgary to Seattle is not a long trip. They left Calgary, about 10:45 wheels up. They get into the airport, the hotel in Seattle at 3 a.m. That's ouch. They just sat on the tarmac waiting for customs. And as we all know, when you're dealing with customs, you don't ask questions. You just pray that whenever they get to you, everything moves, swimmingly. So this has happened to them a couple times of late, and I'm not going to say it's just because of the new leadership in the United States, but man, it sure is easy to blame him for everything, isn't it?
See, I've only ever had customs issue the other way, coming back to Canada, where they always seem like they're kind of hardos, and I'm like, okay, well, what's the other option? Send me back? Sure. Yeah, golf clubs are still here. Like, send me back to Phoenix or wherever. I don't need to come in that bad.
Those are your words, that they're hardos. I don't have a bad word to say about anybody in customs ever.
I'm going to be calling you when I'm going through there in a couple of weeks. Hey, I'm stuck. That trade, though, let's go to the trade now. It happened quick, didn't it?
Greg Conroy said it started that morning. Like, you never hear a GM say that. They always say, we had talks 6 months ago and said we'd revisit it. And here they were doing it in one day. And what I thought was interesting was he said originally started as a one-for-one deal. And I've been racking my brain trying to figure out what that one-for-one deal was, because their goal has been for over a year to land a centerman. So it was obviously Morgan Frost who was the primary person. What were the Flames giving back? To me, it would have been Frost for a second rounder, and that's simple. And then they thought they'll throw in Kuzmenko because they've got a Russian and maybe he could help him. But then you've got to make the money balance out, because Kuzmenko's $5.5 million. So they had Farabee, who's $5 million, and they kind of wanted to get out from under that contract. So then it just adds up. And what I always told is that there was salary retention at one point in the trade. The Flames were going to have to pay for some of Kuzmenko's deal. And then I think that's when they threw in Pelche and broke the hearts of a lot of young people around this town, because he was a real popular player. He's only barely became an NHL player only recently, kind of only recently proven that he was an NHLer for good. But man, he affected a lot of people. People absolutely.
There we go. Okay, pick it up. We just lost the feed there. Technical difficulties. We're back. Just on the trade, though, the Flames, yeah, like I think you mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. They needed a center, right? So they tackle that issue. The Philly thing, it's almost like it's kind of just spare parts for them.
I'll be honest, I feel like it was spare parts for both sides, and I don't mean to throw shade on any human being and call them a spare part, but, like Jacob Peltier, like I said, up until maybe 2 weeks ago was barely a fourth liner in the NHL. Like, he's a first-round draft pick, and people had high hopes for him, but and Kuzmenko had scored 4 goals this year. He was in and out of the lineup all the time. And then Farabee was another guy. You're paying him $5 million a year for 3 more years. If you're rebuilding in Philly, you have no need for that contract. He only scored 20 goals twice. And Morgan Frost was a center who you hoped. I think that the Tortorella, Morgan Frost issues got to the point where they're just like, look, we can cash in on a center because everybody in the league needs a center who's proven in the league. Let's get him out of here, get him away from Torts, and we'll see if maybe he can flourish. And, I'm pretty optimistic that here in Calgary, where he's going to get more ice time and less flack from the coach, that I think he can be a much more productive NHLer. So good deal for the Flames, I think.
And then the Kuzmenko, like you mentioned it on here as well. He's underachieving big time.
Oh.
Can he turn it around in Philly? Like you said, he's got a Russian buddy there, but that could almost go south the other way, where now both of them are basically a pain in your behind.
100%. But it's Matt Michkov, who they've got high hopes on. They're going to try and build a franchise around a guy like that. And I think, he hasn't been what they had hoped. And I think they thought, well, maybe if we insulate him somewhat with a guy who speaks the language, those two guys can commiserate one together. Look, Kuzmenko's on the last year of his deal. My guess is he'll be out of the NHL after this season. I mean, he's just been that bad this year. Skill-wise, one of the most skilled players I've ever seen in my career. And, and they used to say that in Calgary about Kent Nilsson here in Calgary. That was before my time here, but said, the most skilled player ever to come through here. Gretzky said he was the most skilled hockey player he'd ever seen. But unless you got the toolbox and you can put it all together and you got the right mindset, it's a waste of talent. And that's where Kuzmenko's at. Like, he just can't figure this out. 2 years ago, Barney, he had 39 goals. That's an amazing thing for a rookie in the NHL to come in and get 39 goals. Now he's on the verge of getting jettisoned out of the league because he can't figure things out between the years.
Trying to think of a guy that's kind of fallen off the map like that. That's a big number, 39.
Yeah.
You always talk about the other side of the mountain, where Vancouver, and then last week we talked about, are they going to trade him? I talked to Farhan Lalji, didn't sound like anything, and then they pull the trigger on the deal with the Rangers. I watched the Rangers this weekend, bits and pieces, because they play the afternoon games twice. Like they look like a new team. He's playing with Zibanejad, and he's on that power play. It'd be interesting now if the Rangers make the playoffs to make a push here. It's so tight in the East. But what does that do do you think, for the Canucks now, a team that the Flames are battling for this playoff spot? And Quinn Hughes, now he's hurt. Without him in the lineup, I like the position that the Flames are in. I don't know how many games left, 30-ish?
Yeah, I'm with you. If he stays out of the lineup for any amount of time, look, I bet you everybody in Calgary is hoping Quinn Hughes definitely goes and plays in the Four Nations tournament and tests whatever injury he's got. Yeah, they go for it. But again, another example. We talked recently about whether Austin Matthews should go, and I think the answer should be negative. But I do think we're going to see some guys pull out. More and more guys start to pull out of that tournament for injury reasons and to preserve themselves for the people who pay the freight, But, Quinn Hughes, he saved their season. I mean, without Quinn Hughes, that team is not even close to being in a playoff race. I think Kevin Lankinen saved their season early with some great goaltending when Demko was out, and now I think it's Quinn Hughes. And if he's hurt, Calgary Flames are in the driver's seat. But, I think time will tell. I think I know the answer. But I wonder, I don't know if you think the same thing, but I think the Vancouver Canucks traded the wrong guy. Like, if you've got a personality issue in that room between a guy who cares too much and is probably a bit of a jerk because of it, and a guy who cares too little and also makes big money for the next bunch of years, 8 more years, pretty obvious to me who's getting shown the door. As a matter of fact, I don't think that chapter's closed. I still think there's a chance that the Vancouver Canucks try real hard to trade Elias Pettersson before the July 1st deadline, when he has full no trade.
It almost feels like Elias Pettersson is now like, oh crap. Now I got to perform here, right? Like they traded him. It's on me. I hitched my wagon to the disruptor that maybe that JT Miller was, and just the grit and everything he's a dog, right? I hitched my wagon to that, or get rid of both of them. Like, you know, where you said maybe it still could happen that he gets shipped out of town as well. But I was thinking about this today when I was listening. I think I was actually listening to a Vancouver station, and they're talking about how, you know, they got to keep Quinn Hughes happy for the next 2 years, 3 years, because he's got 2 more years left on his deal, and then it's like and I'm like, I don't know if there was a cool bet on where he is in 4 years. Yeah. It starts with a new and ends with a jersey.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you got to be paranoid if you're and I don't want you getting any trouble with any Flames or with any Canucks fans, but I would just think common sense. Put yourself in his shoes.
Yeah. He can write his own ticket, man. He's the best defenseman in the league, or I still think Makar's slightly better, but either way, I think you could even argue that Quinn Hughes plays a more important role for his team than Makar does, because Makar's at least got McKinnon to lean on as well. So, that's going to be something that's going to. I heard that was on. I heard something similar about that today on the radio as well too. They have to make sure they keep him happy, and all this noise that's been happening last year, he can't be happy, and we'll see where this goes. Like, if you're trading Pettersson before the July 1st deadline, when you can't trade him after that, then you're basically starting from scratch, aren't you? Like, you got Quinn Hughes and a bunch of misfit toys you gather and trade. I don't know. It could also just turn around. Maybe this was so bad. I mean, it was obviously so bad that JT Miller had to take time away from the team. I mean, this whole drama needed to end one way or the other. I think ideally it would have ended the other way with Pettersson going. But now that they've done one thing, let's see. You're right. This is all on Pettersson, and I don't think he has broad enough shoulders to carry the load that he's going to be asked to handle from now on. I
would have went with stones. You went with shoulders. Same thing. But I think Hughes can always go back to this, even a year down the road. Be like, turmoil. I want a fresh look somewhere. I want something new. You want to play with your brothers, which who wouldn't want to? 3 brothers, play with them. Yeah, New Jersey's gonna be good, right? It's not like you're going to a Bush League franchise. We have some clips here if you're watching the stream. Like, how good are these, and how awesome? Which is the first one? These hits. This is the one on Pietrangelo, Cooley, and he has to drop the gloves if you're watching the stream. If not, it was just a massive hit. Rangers Golden Knights game. A decleater, as they would call it in football. Pietrangelo not going to the Four Nations. He looked rough after that. And then the other one is the Pahal hit.
Yeah, I knew you were going to show that.
And then, he kind of has to answer the bell as well. And that was early. Calgary was up 1-0 yesterday. And so, can you play that one again, Curtis? Or here's another look. Oh.
Like, there's no debating whether or not that's clean or not. Like, that's just clean. But the knee-jerk reaction from every player and probably every opposing fan in the NHL is always that was dirty, because we just don't see hitting anymore, right? It's the no-hit league. And God bless guys like Pahal, who is just he's stayed in the league this year, just signed a 2-year extension, because he's one of the few guys in the league who knows that he can hit really well, and he does it every game. And you're right. He knows as soon as he delivers a hit like that, he's going to have to fight. So if you watch that clip one more time, you'll see he finishes the hit, gets up, and drops his gloves and is looking around going, which one of you guys is coming? That to me, we need more NHL hockey players like that.
Good Estevan, Saskatchewan boy. And the second view here, like, you can't ask for more of a shoulder on body hit. Like, there is nothing dirty about. Like, that is such a good hockey hit. Did he get a penalty for that?
Nope.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. He just got a fighting. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And you know what? I love this kid. You'll be hearing more and more of him. Like I said, Flames got him in a trade, definitely as a spare part. No, they picked him up off waivers from the Vegas Golden Knights.
Vegas, yeah.
Turned this guy. Well, they haven't turned him into. He's turned himself into, like, this is gonna sound weird to say, but like, maybe this is a little over the top, but like, he's the ultimate number 6, if you ask me, on a blue line. You know, his job is go out there, play 13 minutes a night, 14 minutes a night, and oh, by the way, help us establish an identity of being a hard-hitting team and a hard team to play against. Like, and if you can do that, there's a lot of teams in the league I think would want you.
Classic Kelly McCrimmon, just finding a good prairie boy, working him in. Like, you look at his elite prospects, right? Like, yeah, he put in his time. AHL, East Coast League. No, it's great to see. Okay, what about we talked about Mackenzie Weegar, and we talked about Drew Doughty. Doughty's back now with the Kings and playing a lot of minutes. Like, do you see him? Like, when are they announcing it? Later this week?
Well, they got to announce it soon because Weegar's got to get his cancellation insurance in order for Mexico if they're going to bring him. When they announce it publicly and when they tell the player, probably two different things. But, the tournament starts a week from, 2 days, 9 days from now. So, look, we knew he'd have a 6-game tryout. He's played 3 of those. I've been looking at the stats after every game. I haven't watched them. But you're right. He's playing between 24 and 27 minutes a night. Like, that's what a horse to not play for the whole year and then jump in and do that. But he's only got 1 assist. Now, I know you don't measure it just on that, especially when a guy's just coming back, but he's been playing on the power play. They've been giving him opportunity. The Kings haven't been playing very well lately. I'm not blaming any of some. It just adds to the quandary I think they face. To me, because he hasn't come in and blown anybody away, to me, you don't take the chance. I know that you owe him. I know that you've won all sorts of things internationally with this guy on your team. Maybe you feel you owe him, but I don't think that's the reason you bring him. I think you go with a guy like Mackenzie Weegar who can, we've talked about it before, and I am biased because I watch him every night, but he can do everything. You can bring him in and play him strictly defensively. You can bring him in, you can run your second power play. He hits guys, he blocks shots. Like, he does all the intangibles. I don't think there's a guy on that roster that does all the different things. Look, all the other defensemen are better than him, don't get me wrong, but he can give you a little bit of everything and do it at a high level. So there's no risk in bringing Mackenzie Weegar. There's risk involved with having Drew Doughty.
Yeah, he came back. They get they get shut out in Florida. Then they get shut out in Tampa. Then they scored 2 goals in Carolina. It's going to be interesting. Okay, I want to leave you with this video. If you're watching this stream again, did you see this? These kids coming on the ice?
Yeah.
And the one kid's stick gets caught, and the other guy behind him goes right. There's $300 right there for some parent. All the kids are running on the ice. They're doing a heck of a job, but the one kid's stick gets caught, and then his teammate goes right through and cracks it in half.
Might have broken a rib too on the way through. That's awesome.
Yeah.
God.
No Maz today. He didn't get a chance to join us back, but he'll be back with you on Wednesday.
Hey, can I ask you a question about Saskatchewan?
As long as it's not tariff related. This is a tariff-free show.
No, this Do you have Aussie bites there? Do you know what an Aussie bite is?
Oh, I've heard of
Okay.
I think I've heard of those before. What are
I'll
they?
leave that with you. We'll discuss it next time. And if you don't have them in the province, we can ship them there, tariff free. That's my promise to you. But just something to think about.
Send it on a Send it on a Greyhound.
Like the ones they sell at Costco?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I knew you had Costco there. I figured, but they, not all Costco's carry the same stuff.
No,
Look,
we don't have a Costco. All we got in town is a Red Apple and a Sand Store. The last Sand Store still around in Regina. That's all we got here, Eric. That's let me know if
I knew you had. Don't get me in trouble here. Okay, go to your local Costco if you have a membership.
I don't
go get yourself some Aussie bites. Do yourself a favor, but be warned. You'll slam $1 million back every day. That's my problem right now.
I don't set foot in Costco. That's Mrs. S's job. And then she's even gone down the ordering because there's only one in town and it's way on the it's driving. I'm better off driving halfway to Saskatoon than going the other way to Costco. I'm dead serious. And then so the next time I will step foot in a Costco will probably be first week of July in Kalispell, Montana. So
I have a great story about the Kalispell, Montana Costco. We'll save it for on Wednesday.
I'm not here Wednesday. Why can't you say it now?
Oh, okay. I thought you had to run.
No, go ahead.
I'm dating this gal, I don't know, 25 years ago. I ended up marrying her. Like it's my wife.
Sarah?
Been 20 years. Yeah, Sarah. 20 years, been together. We're dating, maybe 26, 27 years ago. My God. What her parents own a place in Kalispell. You and I have talked about it there at Meadow Lake. And I go down. It's my first time ever in a Costco. I've never seen such an incredible. This is my Willy Wonka moment. Like I've never seen better Disneyland, better in Augusta National. Like I'm like, oh my God, everything's so cheap. Everything's like right there on pallets, like big parking spots, big carts. This is the greatest day of my life. So I start loading my cart up. Like I'm just visiting. I met her parents. Literally, we came across the border. They said we'll meet you at the Costco. So I literally just, hi, Ann. Hi, Jerry. How are you? I'm Eric. I'm dating your daughter, blah, blah, blah. I load up my cart with almost $2,000 worth of stuff. I got a microwave. I got a tube from my cottage. Like I got $2,000. And then I get to the till and I don't have a Costco card and I certainly don't have cash. So I'm not, I basically, and they couldn't take my debit card, whatever. There was a problem. I turned to these people who I didn't even know, and it wasn't an option to just put everything back or say, okay, I guess I have to come back some other day. I turned to Ann and Jerry, who I met 12 minutes earlier, and I'm like, is there any chance I could borrow a couple grand from you? What the hell? Can you imagine? And I ended up marrying her, and they allowed it to happen. Holy cow, what a dirtbag.
Did you ever pay him back?
No, that's the best part. Never will I pay them back.
Still have the microwave and whatever else you bought. Yeah. No, you know what? It's tricky. It was tricky there, and I don't know if it still is, but they would take different credit cards in the States at Costco than they did in Canada. So if you didn't have, if you were like Visa here and you went and you didn't have a Master or whatever, it's vice versa. Yeah, you get stuck. And then Interact was always a Canadian thing. Like Interact in the US came later. Like for some reason, it's one of our, kind of like Anne Murray. We hang our hat on like some real good thing. We were Interact first, and then you'd go, well, I'll just Interact it. And then everyone at Costco sitting there going, what? What's Interact? It's like, no, cash or Visa, you pigeon. Yeah. It's like, that's good. Well, you didn't have to pay him back. That's even better.
Oh, come on. I paid him back, probably with interest. I'm a good guy that way. And otherwise, they wouldn't have let me marry their daughter.
Okay, buddy. You're with Maz on Wednesday, and then we'll catch up next Monday. Are you going to Four Nations?
Yeah, I leave next Tuesday. So I'll probably have to call you that following Wednesday before the game from Montreal.
I might be there. I got my media pass today.
Atta boy.
I don't know if I'm going to go, though.
You should go.
Oh, does Sarah's parents, do they got any extra funds? Can they lend me some money?
I'll give them a call. I'll hit them up. They're good like that.
You can lend me some air miles. Okay, see you next Monday, bud. Later.
See you, buddy. Cheers.
Eric Francis, our NHL insider for the new king of trucks in Southie, Saskatchewan, Southie Mainline Chrysler. Worth the drive every time, guaranteed. Take a break. It is the Sports Cage. We are streaming live at SportsCage.com and on the home of sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. Clutch performer time. Hey, Maz, you're back. Hey.
Back.
It
was a successful trip.
How did the assignment go?
Well, listen, do we not have a tariff deal? We got a 1 month reprieve. They called in anybody and everybody to help negotiate this thing. So, hey, listen, you get the call. You got to do your civic duty, right? Where's this federal duty? Could you imagine if they sent a Sports Cage team to negotiate? First off,
things would change.
Okay. And speaking of Sports Cage,
$25 green fees across the board, everywhere. No ice more than $100 an hour.
Or how about your card is always included and liquor. Oh, and if we ever get merch, I found the perfect Sports Cage outfit that all of us would have to wear. We'd only sell one thing in the
Kanye
store.
West's
I'm
wife?
going to try and find it. Oh, did you see that yesterday? Wow.
Talk about needing attention.
Because the kids are like, Dad, the Grammys are on. And I'm like, good luck with that. I was downstairs and I'm like, ever since, it's always been woke, but it's like super woke. I couldn't tell you anybody. And then that whole Beyonce thing, like by the time you text me, hey, Beyonce, I'm like, so John Rich, when it's time to talk about the Grammys, I got John Rich's text ready to go. Or his quote, his tweet.
I tried sending that to the fellows. Let's go. We got a clutch performer in, and we got a few. So my first one, do you have the clip? Braden Yeager, former Moose Jaw Warrior, now with the Lethbridge Hurricanes. There it is. Point number 300. That's actually 299.
Yeah, because he got the hat trick in the first period. So 300 would be right here.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Look at that shot. If you're watching the stream, it's an absolute laser on the power play.
Yeah.
Top shelf.
And then here comes 301 too. Here's for fun.
But I don't get it. When these goalies are that big, why are you going down on your knees? Stand there. You're 6-something.
Dude, you're not hockey guy. You're not doing any goalie camps anytime soon. It's just how they play. When there's a shot comes like that, I don't care how you're standing. That thing's probably finding the back of the net. So good job, Saskatoon boy, former Moose Jaw Warrior, Braden Yeager, over 300 points in the Western Hockey League. Colson, I'm going to pull up my other one. What was yours?
Mine is Mr. James Van Riemsdyk, yeah. Took a high stick to the face.
Okay.
Had, what was it?
This is 30
stitches, 4 teeth removed, came back in the game, got an assist on the game time, one of the comeback goals, goes out after the game, gets an x-ray done. Oh, there's another tooth in your lip. Need to remove a stitch, take the tooth out, get a bone graft, root canals, eating through a straw, playing tonight against Dallas or last night, whatever that was. Like, does it get any more hockey guy than that?
No. Ugh. That gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, no video of that one.
Okay. More clutch performer for Nick Service in Emerald Park. Your local Massey Ferguson, Challenger, Rogator, Gleaner, and Fent dealer. It is the U of R men's and women's curling teams. You can go to Sportsnet or SportsCage.com, read the story. They both brought home the championships. University men's team, Josh Bryden, Adam Burkak, Carter Williamson, and lead Ryan Grabschik. Sorry, I might have hashed that up, Ryan. But anyways, they got gold. Then the women's team, who's been there before, I think it's 4 of the last 6 years for the women's team. Skip, Chloe Johnson, third Chantel Hogg, Second, Tessa Silversides, and lead Shynkaruk. So the U of R teams sweep the Canada West Championships this weekend. Good on them. Story is up at sportscage.com. You had one, Maz? No? You don't have. I'm not going to force feed you. It's okay. That can be it.
Well, no. What? Yeah. I had something, but now it's gone. Got distracted.
Okay. That's our clutch performer for Nick Service. In Emerald Park, your local Massey Ferguson Challenger, Rogator Gleaner, and Fendt dealer. Call the fine folks at Nick Service, 781-1077. Okay, what do we got for time here? Do you want to go Grammy? You want to go down the Grammy thing right now?
Sure.
Like the Riders signed Tavon Campbell today. He's back in the fold. U of R grad, played in the NFL. He's back. That makes sense. Okay. Last week, Riders signed defensive lineman Shane Ray. That makes sense. Today, Riders signed 3-time OAC Receiver of the Year, Wayne Ruby Jr. That might be a bit of a project. We'll see how Wayne Ruby does. I hope he makes the team just so they play one of the Ruby songs. Ruby Tuesday? Is that a Beatles song? When he scores? It'd be awkward playing Kenny Rogers, Ruby. But yeah, Ruby Jr. So,
Ruby,
so all that
Ruby,
makes sense. Don't take your love
Ruby,
to town.
don't take your love to town.
That's
exactly.
a sad song.
Like,
I feel so sorry for that guy every time I listen to that song.
Yeah, the guy in the song, his life is not going well. So last Monday,
so
when
everything
Mike
makes
Rose
sense.
and
I'm getting to everything makes sense except Beyonce wins Country Artist of the Year at the Grammys. What?
The minute she got nominated because they're woke, and this is the garbage, and I'm glad a lot of this is going away. I think it's going away. I hope. I'm like, she's nominated, she's going to win because she put out a pretend country album. And the Grammys,
and it's hard
keep in mind,
to listen to.
Okay, so keep in mind that we don't have that in our house. But the Grammys has always been a little out there as far as even when country, it would be the fringe country artists that would not necessarily be radio popular to be like, whoa, like they would. It's funny, like Little Big Town, who I really like, they can't get a song on the radio these days to save their life, but they win Grammys. And I like them. They're good. They're deserving. Like Brothers Osborne, really like them. The Grammys love them, not necessarily super mainstream. So John Rich of Big and Rich, and if you don't follow him on social media, he's great. Keep in mind, if you're thin-skinned and you cry liberal tears, John will make you bawl. Okay? So John he loves America. He's about freedom. He's about all the amendments. He is not afraid to tell it like it is. So he put this out last night on Twitter, or this morning. Folks are asking me, how do music award shows work? Labels and publishers all have blocks of votes. They make deals with each other. You vote for mine, we'll vote for yours type thing. It has zero, capital letters, to do with who made the best music. Thus, Beyonce with Country Album of the Year, nice, right? The same thing is true with the CMAs, ACMs, Billboards, etc. All work exactly the same. Last night, the Grammys outed themselves in a big way. And that got huge response on social media.
I saw that too. Man, it is, I don't even know what to say. Country Artist of the Year.
Like,
go ahead.
Well, okay, but people are like, well, maybe it was a light category. Chris Stapleton was nominated. Lainey Wilson. They've had incredible years. So there was some real people nominated in that category. But
I'd take the Johnner Boys over Beyonce for a Grammy. Country music. We talked about last week when Harry was on, when they did the song, and Merle Haggard walked out for Africa famine relief. You ever seen that documentary on Netflix? It's unbelievable. We Are the World. It's based on We Are the World. How they started at like 10 at night and it went to like 8 in the morning and everyone was like pissed off and frustrated. And Merle Haggard just at one point gets up and leaves. And it's kind of known as pulling a Merle now. But if you want do something to make you kind of a little bit sick to your stomach.
Wasn't it Waylon Jennings?
Sorry, Waylon Jennings. Merle Haggard, Waylon Jennings. Yeah, Waylon Jennings. That's what it was. Sorry, all you Merle fans. Frank Sinatra has 11 Grammys. Frank, it might not be your cup of tea, but he did some pretty awesome stuff musically. The Beatles, might have heard of them, 7 Grammys. The Rolling Stones, 3 Grammys. Beyonce, 33.
Yeah. See, like, it's once again, because it's woke. It's like it's not about what's good. It's about obviously what's popular and who owes who a favor.
That's embarrassing. She should give it back. Like, she knows.
She should.
She knows she's not the best country album of the year. Curtis? This is in your wheelhouse.
Oh, gee. Oh, no.
Here, let me crack the microphone real quick. You know what?
So,
I was weirdly rooting for Post Malone to win it. I really liked his F1 Trillion album with all the collabs that he did.
Shut your mic off.
Okay.
yeah, not exactly country music either, but I would have taken a Post Malone because at least he's doing these duets with guys like Luke Combs, Blake Shelton. Like, he's doing everything he can
I apologize,
to buy his way into country music.
Let it be known that Barney apologized to me today, 4/49, February 3rd.
Write it down in the book, Colson.
Yeah, the one with Morgan Wallen. That was like the song of the summer. I had some help. Come on. You're going to trash me immediately?
Those things get so over.
Well, yeah, that's how it works.
So last year was Lainey Wilson. Little bubblegum for me. 2023 was Willie Nelson. Like, hey, we all love Willie.
I know, but
what did Willie put out in 2023?
They love going out on the weird
They
branch.
do.
They do.
Chris Stapleton, 2022. Miranda Lambert, 2021. Tanya Tucker in 2020. Like, again,
I know.
Tanya Tucker, like, that's early 80s. Like,
I know.
Casey Musgraves in 19. She's actually she is country and like
she is, but she's Grammy country.
Like, yeah, people were like so disappointed because she just stands up there and sings. It's like she's not flying around hooked up to any apparatuses. And yeah, she just stands up there and sings. Stapleton won it in 18 too, eh? Okay, so in 2017, you know who won it in 2017? I have never heard of this person's name. Like, this person literally could work at Brand's convenience store. Sturgill Simpson.
Oh, he kind of sings. That dude kind of sings like funny, kind of like dirty country. Like, it's a little dark and like swearing and stuff. Oh yeah,
like what?
It's a little
guys?
Outlaw.
What were those guys back in the day? Smith and Smith.
Cletus T. Judd.
No.
McLean and McLean.
McLean and McLean.
McLean and McLean.
Chris Stapleton won it again in 16. Miranda Lambert won it in 15. Casey Musgraves in 14. Zach Brown Band. Lady Antebellum back-to-back. Taylor Swift. George Strait, 2009. Okay, now we're getting into some country music. Vince Gill in 2008. Alison Krauss in Union Station. Anyway, Beyonce wins Country Artist of the Year. Gross. Let's take a quick break. Sports Cage. Streaming at sportscage.com. Local hockey rundown. We got lots of CFL talk coming up after the top of the hour. Darian Durant. We're going to have Justin Dunk again. Flin Flon, Maz. 4-0 over Melfort. That was the worth the drive game of the week for Southie Mainline Chrysler. Shut him out. Matthew Keeper, another shutout. They are rolling. Estevan 5-2 over Weyburn. That was a big win. SJHL report coming up for Southie Mainline Chrysler tomorrow. Western Hockey League, Pats dropped 2 on the weekend, Friday, and then Saturday to Brandon. Edmonton, 2-0 over Lethbridge. That was an interesting win. PA beat Wenatchee. Swift ends their BC swing with a win in Kelowna. 5th to 8th in the Eastern Conference in the Western Hockey League is tight. AAA midget, it's getting tight there as well. Pack Canadian shaded Warman on the weekend. Moose Jaw and Saskatoon Blazers split in Moose Jaw. Swift Current took 2 from the contacts. It's getting thick there. Pat C's lead by 1 over Moose Jaw. Swift's 4 back, then Tisdale, and the Blazers dropped back. AAA female, not a lot this weekend because of the Sask first U18 camp in Southie. Junior B, things fire up again tomorrow. One huge, you missed it in hour one. Huge senior game, senior provincial C. Kenora, my boys from the Garlic Belt up there, went into Carnduff. A surprising. I said they stole game one and they stole the Kishka. 5-2 over Carnduff. So, yeah, it's going to be rocking in Kenora this weekend.
I heard you. So a couple of things Friday when you guys were at the Brand Center.
How jealous were you on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, when you were talking to Dave Strush, just what a good guy, what a nice guy. Like he's his dad, he just knows hockey, like he's Sask through and through. And then who did you guys have? Who were you interviewing?
Alan Miller, Henry Burris.
No, player. No, not Harry Burris.
Oh, our weather and traffic guy, Braxton Whitehead.
Braxton Whitehead, just to listen to him talk. So like, young, got a good head on his shoulders. Looks like he's going to have, like when he's telling the story, like the mom, the dad, the sister in hockey, and she's better, and like all of that. And the Pats are really going to miss that. And I know that, like you said, the young and scrappy team this year, but he's got a bright future ahead of him. Like, yeah, exactly.
It was Parents' Weekend, and we were trying to snivel our way into the media room for a piece of pizza and a drink after, but all the family was there. And actually we got in and I tried to meet the parents just to say, great kid, future's bright, might have a go in media when things are done. But that was really impressive. Did you see Donald Trump today and the Florida Panthers?
Yeah, I saw that. He's got a 47 Trump jersey. They made him a 45 and 47. And then was he like yucking it up? I saw something, but I didn't hear the
Colson's got
sound.
a clip.
Doing pretty well, right?
Okay.
You're nicely positioned.
We're starting to roll now.
Yeah, you know the expression, he's nicely positioned. I love all these ties. This is so cute, these people. Look at them. I walked in, I said, I think they like Trump. I like them. And you aren't just great protectors of the net. You're also known as the biggest brawlers on ice. Wow. I was with a man named Wayne Gretzky the other day. Do you know Wayne Gretzky? Did you ever hear of Wayne Gretzky? The great one? And he was telling me about a gentleman that protected him named Marty McSorley. Do you know that? You ever hear of him? I don't know if he was a good hockey player, but they say he was very tough. And Wayne was saying he was great as far as he was concerned. He had tough cookies. All of the team's hard work led up to big showdowns last June where you defeated the Edmonton Oilers in an unforgettable, and it was, 7-game series. The Panthers, as I said, started strong with a 3-0 lead.
I would love to know what goes through that guy's head. Oh, man.
Okay, speaking of Gretzky, because there's a lot of rage over the weekend on social media, some really funny things. A lot of people want Ryan Reynolds and Celine Dion deported. Like, if they're terrifying us, they want some people gone from where they are. Okay. But then there's people going after Gretzky. Gretzky lives in the States. He was at the inauguration. He's one of Trump's neighbors in Florida. He's got his green card. He's allowed to live there and vote for whoever he wants. Stop making it like, because basically the post was, and it got some traction, we're disappointed in you. You were Canadian. You don't speak for, he's not speaking for anybody. He's saying nothing. You're attacking him.
Goes to sleep with Janet every night. Things are good in Wayne's world. Leave him alone. He doesn't care.
I know. Do you think
CFL talk after 5:00? Darian Durant's going to join us. I got a text to read. We got to read this text from Ed Bankowski, former Ram team manager, after 5:00. It's the Sports Cage. We're throwing the news. Streaming at SportsCage.com. Hour 3 of the show for Kellen Solar on Monday. It's Barney, Shynkaruk, Maz, Colson, and Curtis. Darian Durant standing by. We're going to talk CFL football with him. Back half of this hour, our recap with Justin Dunk from hour 1 of the program. Very informative. So there you go, your CFL football fix, because things are moving fast and furious. Maz, did you hear? It's not really breaking news. Colson said it came down about an hour ago. I know we weren't going to talk tariffs. I said we're boycotting. We're lifting the tariff. We're lifting the boycott. Curtis, can you do it for me? Canada gets a 30-day reprieve from the tariffs.
Yeah.
So it's. I kind of thought that was the play.
Yeah. Well, okay. He got Mexico to bend the knee this morning, and he got us to bend the knee this afternoon.
Just gonna give her.
Yeah.
They say we're not generous. We're so generous. We'll give 30 days. You know, we're really nice. We took the Stanley Cup, so we got to give it a little something back.
There we go. We finally got Curtis's Trump impersonation, and it was really good out there. Hey, 9-3
wasn't just really good. It was the best. The best there is.
Prairie Land Rentals text line on Albert Street. Deal with the owner since 1986. Prairie Land Rentals 936-6262. You can comment on how awesome of a job Curtis just did. We're getting a lot of comments on the YouTube chat from what is it? Sea Lightning. It's going off. It's going off on there. Not a lot of substance, but he's texting in. Anyway, let's get going now with some CFL talk. Our CFL former legendary Rider quarterback Darian Durant is joining us. Darian, hey, Canada gets a 30-day reprieve. That includes. I don't know if there's going to be tariff talk when it comes to us doing our thing here, but man, it's been busy. Like it is. Ed Hervey in Edmonton. He's like Maz at Costco. Just buying a little bit of everything, right? What's your take been so far on what you're seeing from the CFL and free agency?
Well, first of all, with Ed Hervey, he's doing exactly what I expected him to do for a team that lost so many games by such a small margin. What he's doing is he's going out there, he's getting tough-nosed players, guys who in the fourth quarter you'll get that same type of effort. Bringing in Tyrell Ford along with re-signing of Niles Morgan, just gritty guys that know how to play, physical guys. They're trying to change the mentality over there in Edmonton, and he's doing a great job of making sure he puts the pieces in place to do that.
It's funny, Darian, you mentioned that Niles Morgan, and maybe a lot of people don't know him, but for as bad as the Eskimos have been, he has been one of the bright spots on defense. He had 111 tackles last year. He's just one of those thick linebackers. He's everywhere. So to me, that was kind of the no-brainer. But then there's also there's word that Royce Mechie is going there. And have you ever heard of a Canadian defensive back, if the numbers are true, that Tyrell Ford is going to get $230,000 a season? Like, that's quarterback money to be a DB in the backfield. Yeah. That's resetting the market, if you ask me.
Absolutely. And I mean, birth certificate in this case is so important. I mean, when you have a guy that you can put in the defensive backfield, pretty much a lockdown corner, that's Canadian. That could change the ratio, get you to be able to put more, American guys on the skill positions on the offensive side of the board. I mean, look, everyone's looking. You can see what the Riders did with Tavon Campbell. I mean, you're looking for that guy, that ratio-changing player that can allow you to change things up and you can get more playmakers on the field. So, if the reports are true, I mean, kudos to him. He deserves it. Whenever you have a guy that can take the ball away, they deserve to get paid. And the fact that he's Canadian just adds icing on the cake.
Tavon Campbell. Can you go to that clip, Curtis? We have some clips of when he was playing in the NFL. The Joe Flacco pass into the flats. Jets.
That'll be the easiest one he'll ever have, I'll tell you that.
No, but what a great signing for the Riders. Like almost Canadian. Like found money in a way.
Yeah. Whenever you can make things happen like this, and even when he was younger, he was running in the low 4.3. So an older Tavon is a 4.4 guy, a guy who can still run, who can still make plays. And like I said, he's a ratio changer. So great pickup by Jeremy O'Day and staff of getting a guy who can lock down one side of the field and also give you that ratio changer that you need to put other guys on the roster to make a significant impact on other sides of the ball.
We had a text come in to the Prairie Land Rentals text line at 936-6262, guys. And it was former Rams team manager Ed Bankowski, and he wanted to remind us that Tavon Campbell was a member of the Rams indoor track team when he was at the U of R. And also he dabbled in a little bit of the Canadian national rugby team. So a versatile guy. I don't know if you saw this one come down later today, Darian, probably just about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. Riders taking a stab here. This could be a little bit of a stab in the dark. Guy by the name of Wayne Ruby Jr., 6'1", 190 pounds. He's a wide receiver. Florida native. He was in the Ohio Athletic Conference and lit it up there over the last 3 years. Some really good numbers. What did he have? At 105 receptions, 1,785 yards, and 30 touchdowns to lead all NCAA Division IIIs in both receiving yards and touchdowns. So maybe a little project there, Darian. You know, back to your time. But sometimes you got to take a stab in the dark with things like that and say, you know what? I see something in this guy. He's probably not going to get a look NFL-wise. Let's bring him up and see what he can do.
Absolutely. This is what your scouting staff gets paid for, to find these diamonds in the rough, to find these guys who may have not had the grades coming out of high school or may have been overlooked, may haven't developed their bodies fully, and had to go to a smaller school in order to play and be seen. So, this is a perfect signing. I think a guy, not much expectation coming in, but if he does and he comes in and he provides depth, or, not only depth, if he's able to come in and earn a roster spot, this is amazing. So, great job by the scouting staff of just being able to find guys like this. And this is how you build your roster around guys who you can find that may be, hidden gems.
So yesterday, a lot of us Rider fans watching online getting FOMO, the fear of missing out, because Ed Hervey was going to town, potentially 8 players signed. And we're like, well, I know we signed Mike Rose. And last week we talked about Mike Rose and James Waters got released, and we really like them. Waters signs with Winnipeg, I think, on Wednesday. And obviously Rose, who apparently we didn't have the best money offer, but he wanted to come to me. So I like that. But here's the thing, and Darian, you mentioned this going back a year. We need a number 1 receiver. Kenny Lawler and Eugene Lewis still not signed. There's rumblings out there. There's teams involved and there's offers out there. And potentially the Riders are in on this. We've always said this is the biggest thing that we need because we can fill the holes. Are you good with either guy if it was a Lewis or a Lawler that ends up in Rider Nation? Because I sure would be.
Yeah, I'll be good with either guy. Both guys are big-time players. Both guys, there are the two best 50-50 ball guy when the ball's in the air. They make plays from the slot. You can put them at wide out. It doesn't matter. You need these type of guys in the red zone that can make plays. So definitely they're my 1A and 1B. I don't think there's much separation when it comes to skill set with these two. Maybe Lawler's a little bit younger than Gino. But when it comes to just playmaking ability, these are the best 2 guys out there. And I saw where Ottawa released Dominic Rhymes as well. I think he's another playmaker that may, be available. So, the Riders have options, which is a good thing. And, a receiver of that caliber for the Riders will definitely change that offense tremendously.
Yeah, I see now. I don't know who I like there more. If I had to pick, and it's dollars will be the similar, but Eugene wants, what is Eugene going to settle on? Is he going to settle on 250, 270, where Lawler maybe come a little bit more on the cheap? And then does he want to stick it to Edmonton or stick it to Winnipeg? If he does, then there's no better place than Sasky, right? If you want to stick it, vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect opportunity for Kenny Lawler. If there is any animosity or bad blood there between he and Winnipeg, which I don't think it is, because he left, went to Edmonton, and then came back pretty quickly. So I don't think there's any bad blood there. We all know it's business, but I don't see a discount coming in from either guy, especially Geno Lewis, who went from Montreal to Edmonton, signed a huge deal there, I think for over $300K. So, the price tag will be pretty steep for them both. But if you can get, 10 touchdowns out of either, it's well worth it.
Darian, when you were with the Riders, did you ever get to free agency, or was that always buttoned up beforehand and that you never went down that road?
Yeah, never had an opportunity to go to free agency. The year I was about to was right before the Grey Cup, and Taman came in and made sure that it didn't happen. So never had that opportunity.
Okay.
I'm kind of glad I didn't, because it can be nerve-wracking, and you don't want to build any bad blood with organizations. So it's a tough thing to do.
Well, because here's why I ask. Justin McInnis. So if the tampering starts Sunday legally, and Justin McInnis, nothing, but then they sign on Saturday, wouldn't you want to wait a few more hours to see what the rest of the market may give you? Like, when you've come this far, like you're gambling a little, right? But it's interesting, because there was a few guys that signed on Saturday. He was one of them.
And that's the thing. You don't want you kind of want to see where other teams are, what they're willing to offer, but you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you wait too long and then the money that's already on the table from your previous team isn't there anymore. I mean, the teams have to protect themselves, right? They'll put a deal out there. Either you accept it or you don't, and they have to move on. So sometimes it's better to just sign and stay with the team you have and be in a good situation for a few $1,000s less. It's not worth going to a situation that's maybe a bad football situation for you just for a few more dollars.
Okay.
Okay, there's going to be a lot to talk about this week into next week, but before we let you go, gotta ask, Super Bowl. Give us the Darian pick. How do you foresee this going?
Oh, man, I went back and forth, and I'm still going back and forth. I am a huge Patrick Mahomes fan. I think that this is his time. This is his era. But there's just something about Saquon Barkley and what the Eagles have that scares me. I kind of compare this to when Corey Sheets came to us, and we were good, and we had a good passing game. But when Corey Sheets came in and opened up the offense for myself, I had my best statistical season passing. He shattered records running the football. And I think when you have a game-changing running back, you just have that advantage. And that's what I see with the Eagles and Saquon Barkley. He's just a game-changer, man. He changes the entire dynamic of your offense. He's one play away from hitting his head on the goalpost. So I have to go with the Eagles and that explosive playmaking ability, because it just reminds me so much of what Corey Sheets brought to our offense back in 2012 and 2013.
Well, we'll figure it all out on the weekend, and then we can have a nice conversation on Monday, seeing how it all shakes down. All right, Doubles, thanks so much.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Right on.
It's our guy.
Our weekly segment with Darian Durant. Quick break time. You're watching the Sports Cage. You're streaming at SportsCage.com. We're going out checking the Prairieland Rentals text line. A few texts have come in. One guy wants to fight you, Maz. Basically.
Why?
He said, BS. Gretzky is a traitor. Maz can STF you. So, to each their own.
If Wayne can live wherever he wants, if he wants to live near the rich people in Florida, Wayne's earned that right?
I'm not getting into it.
Do you think Donald Trump knew that Marty McSorley was up in Kenora a few weeks ago?
I was hoping he was going to mention
Saskatchewan?
that. I was hoping he was going to mention.
That'd be so funny.
Curtis, can you do a quick shout out?
Home of the Cobras?
Yeah.
No, I did not know. But if I did know, I'd say, it's okay. It's not the greatest. Not like the Florida Panthers and the Stanley Cup right here.
You're supposed to give Kenora a shout out, Donald.
Yeah, Kenora.
Donald. Shane saying on the YouTube chat line, no one had any tackles for a team called the Eskimos last year. We get it. It's the Elks. CL Lightning wants to know how old. See this? The nickname's already catching on. How old is Ruby Tuesday? Here we go. He is. Does it say how old he is?
Isn't he 23?
6'1", 190.
Yeah.
It's got to be in that 23 year. Yeah, they don't have it.
But here's the thing. Much like last year, if they see the potential in the preseason, like with Dante Myers, get them on the roster.
Oh, yeah.
Don't wait for an injury. Try them out. Because when Dante came on, he made a difference. He was one of their best players, and he was a deep threat. Sadly, he got hurt. And this is the other thing, too. And since there's no commission in the CFL and Suter can't get fined, expand the rosters. If you're paying all your practice roster guys real money anyways, make it 45, make it 46 or 47 players. Because look you got your punter, your long snapper, and your field goal kicker. So that's 3 out of the 40. Those guys are gone. They're not real players. Don't take offense to that, but you're not every down players. And then take another 3 out of there for your quarterbacks. Okay, so now you're down to 37. All right, split between offense, defense, and special teams. 2 or 3 more guys on the roster to stretch it out. You make new stars, player safety. You want to sell the league, right? You want to grow the players and the personalities.
The craziest. Sorry, I was only half paying attention to what you were saying there, because the craziest thing just now happened. Guess who texted me while you were talking there? And Curtis just did his thing.
It's either Brett Lothar or the real Donald Trump.
Marty McSorley.
No way!
Legit just texted me. Barney, if you guys want me to jump on sometime, fire me off a text. It's like I'm just texting him that we were just talking about you, and Donald Trump mentioned you. And then he didn't mention Kenora, though. That sucks.
I mean, if he's on social media, probably his phone or whatever would have blown up, because when he would have got that shout out to be like...
I don't think he is on social media. Marty doesn't seem like a social media kind of guy.
No.
Marty seems like I'm going ice fishing north of Kenora on a Monday, -30 kind of guy, which he did.
And I think that's why a lot of people love Dustin Byfuglien, because Dustin Byfuglien was one of those guys to be like, yeah, I'm going to disappear and go off the grid for 3 weeks and you won't find me. That's what we loved about Big Buff. Yeah. And I think, Marty gives off those vibes too. And just his age as well.
Okay, so
just a quick interjection. From what I'm finding here, Ruby Tuesday is born in 2000, so he'd be turning 25 this year.
Okay.
And I like his Twitter name, Mr. Get Open. I like it.
He probably, I wonder if he even knows the song Ruby Tuesday. Well, if he sticks around, he's going to be on the Sports Cage. We'll be talking to him about it. We'll play it.
Couple of things. Saturday, I was at the gym, and JT Miller had already scored for the Rangers in his first game. And a guy next to me, he had a Canucks hat on, and I just wanted to ask him, be like, hey, man, and not in a fun way, just to be like, how are you feeling about your team? Because I want to talk about a bit of an emotional roller coaster, because he was out there, he was repping the thing. And then here's the other thing, too, because we had a good in-depth conversation about all the different types of people you see at the gym. Know who we forgot, which I saw on Saturday as well. The couple that's in love, and the guy is making the girlfriend rack the weights. Okay? He's working out, and she's the one doing the weights.
I know the people in love at the gym. No, I know that I've been there before. No, it's like, hey, you want to go to the gym
there's
together?
Always that
so
guy,
cute.
Well, no, but there's always that guy that's working out, and she's helping him. Like, she's getting weight and racking weights and doing all that. I can't think in what universe that my wife, there's ever a scenario where that is ever happening. Ever. She was just happy. They, like I said, they're young, they're in love, they're at the gym. They were doing leg press. Well, he was doing leg press. She was changing the weights.
Under 9 months. That thing's lasting. Hammer the under on that one. Can we go? Okay, here's another thing. You jumped onto the gym again. What's your take? I would like to know the percentage of 50-50s that are rigged. And I know back in the day, you hear stories about Western Hockey League teams, some other big teams where they were rigged. And you know what? I'd be stupid not to think that happens. But do you think there's a lot of 50-50s out there where like there's some big senior hockey games coming up in the next little bit, provincials and all that? It's like, yeah. And
well,
I was at a game a little while. I'm not going to call out where I was. I was at a game a little while ago. And this is where this stems from. They're like, all right, 50-50 ticket. It's on a blue ticket. 596783. 596783. And it felt like literally 20 seconds. All right, and our winner is Jolene Sacramento. Thank you very much. It's like some made-up name. And it was so quick that it seemed a little phony baloney. What do you think?
So if it's digital...
Well, you can't.
Well, exactly. But if you're walking around with, when you go and try and get the right drink tickets at a wedding so you can do it for free. So if you're buying those tickets like at the dollar store,
yes.
Please don't tell me you haven't done that. If you're listening to this show, there's a lot of things we could get into that we've all done. Okay, so here's my thing. If it's a little rigged, like the senior hockey games, if it was, don't call it a 50-50, call it a 33, 33, and 33. Okay? We get a little bit, they get a little bit, and somebody's going to win a little bit. I'm okay with that.
Yes.
But if it's the old school ticket way, to me, you're leaving yourself open to anybody could have their hands in on this. If it's not digital these days.
The buying the ticket thing, if you're going to a beer gardens, something like that, and it's like, hey, are you still in town? Yeah. Run by the dollar store, grab the pink or red tickets.
It's
Did I ever tell you what one of my buddies did? I'm not going to say. There was a city, small city, biggish town, had a big street dance. Blocked off like 3 streets, band, everything. We're younger.
This is Swift Current. I already know. I'm going to blow this out of the water. This is Swift Current. All right. You don't have to name names, but you're at the Swift Current, the street festival. Okay. And how did you guys rip off the bar? No, go ahead.
Buddy,
statute of limitations has run out.
Buddy I brought, he, all of a sudden, he's behind the bar with one of the like Kinsman shirts that the bartenders were wearing. And we're like, what happened? He's like, I don't know. Some guy had enough. He was leaving and he got in a fight with the boss. So he's leaving. And I just said, hey, can I buy your shirt? So he just gave it to me. So now I'm back here serving drinks because no one knew any different. So it was like, yeah, free ride on that. It was better than going to the dollar store and getting the tickets. Let's get a buddy with the shirt.
Nice.
Right?
Now, when you win a small town 50-50, especially if they're trying to fundraise and do stuff, do you have to be the charitable person and the good guy and donate it back?
I don't. Depends what it's for. A portion? Do you go portion back? But you got to remember how many 50-50s you've invested in, too. Really, you're just replenishing, kind of, what you brought back. That's a tough one. And how wasted are you? Like, does his money just, whatever, just donate it back. Yeah, donate it back. Sign me up for that Gretzky rookie card, too, in the silent auction. It's always a slippery slope. Something to think about. Let's take a quick break. It's a Sports Cage. We're streaming at sportscage.com and on the home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 620 CKRM. Not a lot on the hockey front this evening.
No.
One game.
Just one NHL game. Yeah.
Ottawa.
Senators, Predators.
Yeah. In Nashville. If you're going to go take that in, maybe you want to watch it. It's Dry Rib Mondays at the Canadian Brew House, $9.99. Cracked pepper and sea salt dry ribs. They make a nice dry rib there. $1.50 off tankards of Michelob Ultra. 2 locations, Canadian Brew House in Regina and 1 in Moose Jaw. Find out more information at the CanadianBrewHouse.com. Okay, so Colson has a donating a 50-50 backstory?
It wasn't a 50-50. It was a live auction, but it was still a fundraiser.
Okay.
And it was 2 plane tickets to Vegas, private plane tickets. So good thing to bid on, right?
Whoa, private bird?
Yeah. It was a private event. This is my previous job doing audiovisual stuff.
Okay.
The bid got to $99,000. The guy wins it, says, I'm giving it back. And me and my boss look at each other and are like, can we see any of this, please? We should put out a tip jar. The rebid of it got to $78,000, and the 2 people didn't want to budge. So they said, we can get 4 tickets. So they both won at $78,000. And I'm like, we just saw like $170,000.
$240,000.
$240,000
just fly by in front of our eyes.
That's crazy. So that's the other. I love that, and that's what we try to do in Kenora with the Marty McSorley fishing trip. It's like they were battling back and forth, and I said, can't you just fit 4 more guys in the fishing shack and sell them both, and then you double up the bid?
Yeah, or 2 days. Somebody gets the morning, somebody gets the afternoon.
Donated basically $100,000 back.
Yeah.
Who is that? Who was it? Do you remember the name?
I have no idea who they are. It was a private event in the city limits.
Province?
In the city limits. So, yeah. All going to, I think, football. Regina Minor football.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, just an easy $100,000 donation.
Yeah, I was like, why did you make us sit through this 5 minutes of auction then? I could have got home earlier. But, yeah.
That's a baller move right there. Speaking of baller,
Curtis has the new SportsCage merch, item number 1 ready to go. We just need to change the logo, but this is what we launch with. Although we would have to, if we were going to model this, we'd probably need to all head to Planet Fitness and just start
if you're watching
making
the
friends
stream,
in the parking lot. Yeah, look at that.
If you're watching the stream,
if you're a Raiders fan, I hope that.
How do you paint the picture for the people listening in radio?
Okay, so imagine a bodybuilder with a sleeveless bunny hug and the hood up, and it's just decked out in Raiders gear, like with the Raider logo and all that. And this, you're looking mean and you're looking tough. Chip Kelly, new offensive coordinator.
I thought we were going with truck nuts. Was the first thing that we were doing for SportsCage merch.
I was hoping truck nuts, but we could do this too, because good news, boys, they don't do drug testing with the SportsCage. It's all good. We can juice up. We can get there.
Yeah, it's gonna take a lot than a few spins to the old Planet Fitness to look like that guy.
We can.
We just go with
give it the good old college try.
Sweatpants and put sleeves on it. Something more cozy.
That's great, but look at that. Like that, could you imagine that? And you wonder why the Raiders have multiple fights in a game.
I'd punch myself in the face if I wore that.
Yeah. Or somebody would, close to you, fast. Just repping that everywhere.
Oh yeah,
I bet you if you put that, if you made a Rider version of that, you put that in the Rider store, that would sell. Honestly, it would. And I'm not joking about that. It would. And you'd see dudes in the summer rocking that like you wouldn't believe.
Obsidian
you get that
green
in Obsidian Green?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Perfect.
Just all gun show. It's just picture a bunny hug. No, it's all gun show.
Scott from Saskatoon was at the Loreburn Kenniston playoff game on Saturday. 50-50 was $725. If I win, I'm pumping a couple hundred back into the post-game bar in the curling rink and letting my 13-year-old drive home. That's good. Hey, I also got another one here when we were talking earlier about Interact, and it was Eric Francis. We talked about going to Costco and he couldn't pay his bill, so he had to ask his in-laws, but he just met them 12 minutes before that he had to borrow $2,000 for the stuff he bought at the Kalispell Costco because he had no money, no card, didn't work. So I had this sent in, and I said Canada was always ahead of the curve, ahead of everyone when it came to Interact cards. And then Tap, we were ahead of that too. 1982, debit cards were first used in Canada at Saskatchewan credit unions. 1982. Wow. Like microwaves were just starting to become a thing.
And keep in mind, there's a good portion of the population in Saskatchewan, like my mom, does not have a bank card. She will not submit to a bank card. It's never happening.
Then in the 90s, pilot projects among Canada's 6 largest banks took over. So 1982. Thanks to Brent up in Saskatoon for sending that in as well.
The first ATM in Canada was in Sask too, 1976.
What?
Yeah, in Regina. Credit union as well.
Really?
What were the service fees back then?
Ooh.
Probably not that bad. Because people don't want to really.
Or were there any?
Yeah.
Yeah, or were there any?
What an informative.
Could you imagine if you went back to that
program we got? Still more CFL talk. We're going to splice up and revisit the interview with Justin Dunk to take us up to news. At the top of the hour, Colson Curtis. Thanks so much, Maz. Always a pleasure. I'll be back tomorrow. Guest hosting tomorrow. Derek Bidwell is back.
Busy. He played in the Rider game I saw on the weekend.
Oh, yeah. We're going to go deep. I wonder if he got a Wonder Bar. That was a saying, right? Hat-trick Wonder Bar guy. Yeah, we'll have to talk to him about that. So Justin Dunk coming up after the break. It is the Sports Cage streaming at sportscage.com.